How does a super GM like Magnus Carlsen defeat an international master? Let's take a look right here. The best player in the world, Magnus Carlsen, played Eric Rosen, international master, and this game occurred in May 16th, 2023. And we're going to take a look how a super GM beats an international master. And an international master, for you guys, just to let you know, is an extremely strong chess player in the top 99.99999% of chess players. So let's take a look how a super GM handles this game. Magnus plays the Birds opening, which is a very old school opening. Hasn't been played in a long time, really, at the competitive level. But he's Magnus Carlsen. He can do whatever he wants. Magnus takes more space in the center, and Eric Rosen's getting his pieces involved in the game development. Magnus, again, playing in the center, right? Taking space, playing in the center. Very principled chess. Black now pins the knight, but this really doesn't do a whole lot because white can just play this. And if black takes, the queen develops, and if black moves away, he just lost a tempi. Okay, so I'm not looking ahead at the moves, by the way. I'm trying to just guess, go along with you guys at the same time. Magnus did play h3, in fact. Okay, so he takes, and we have equal position at this point. I am looking at the evaluation bar. It's the only thing I am looking at. So knight f5, so Eric Rosen decides, hey, I'll get my knight back into the game, into the center. I'll put some pressure on this pawn. So again, I tell my chess students this all the time. Always look for your opponent's threat and then defend it, and look for the best way to defend it, okay? This would not be the best way to defend it because now you're losing the bishop, the dark square bishop, and this dark square bishop just got stronger. It can start putting pressure on your position. So Magnus didn't play that. I assume he didn't play that. If he did, then I really have a lot to learn. Okay, he played c3. Okay, makes sense. c3. Okay. e6. g4. Magnus plays g4 attacking the knight. And this is a tell. Because why is this a tell? Well, he's expanding on the king side, which means he's not going to castle on the king side. How do I know this? Well, we don't push the pawns in front of our king because that weakens our king. It weakens our fortress. So we know now just by this move that Magnus is planning to go queenside in this position. Okay, Eric Rosen plays his knight over here. And it looks like maybe we could trap the knight, maybe play something like this, but the queen's defending. And after a random move, if we try to, trap the knight actually goes back to the square and is a strong knight. Let's see. Magnus did play f2, though, instead, anyway. And we have h4, h5. Magnus develops his bishop. Again, just developing his pieces, getting ready to castle queenside. He doesn't want his king in the center, okay? Eric Rosen starts to reposition his bishop because although this is usually a really good diagonal, he's hitting granite right here. So he realizes he has to reposition his bishop. Okay, we have castles queenside and bishop e7. This is a very versatile position for the bishop as it can go to the left or right side of the board at will. And Magnus just completes his development or almost completes his development. Okay, we have queen a5. This is another threat in the position. This is the second threat, basically, that Eric Rosen deployed onto Magnus. And how do we defend this? It looks like there's only one good way that doesn't weaken things. Probably queen b1 here. King b1. And king b1. Okay, king b1 is also a very principled move. Not a hard move to find. When we castle queenside, we usually end up on an open diagonal. So we want to play king b1. In fact, Grandmaster Ben Feingold, who's a YouTube chess coach, always says play king b1. So here we go. Okay, so Eric Rosen also castles queenside because you'll notice that his pawn structure isn't great on the king side as well. He has a lot of weaknesses, and Magnus has a strong attack, so why put the king there? Okay, and here we go. f5. Magnus is starting to really take control of the game and push forward. We have takes on f5. Taking with the bishop, hitting the knight, I would imagine, since Eric Rosen's knight is on the side of the board and not good, it would want to trade this knight for bishop. So I would expect that, and in fact, he does. And the pawn's attacked here, so black just defends it. And Magnus, of course, takes over the G file, very principled move, just taking over open files. Whether you're the best player in the world, or intermediate player, or a new player, the chess principles still apply to you. You still have to play by the principles. Put your rooks on open files, bishops on open diagonals, put your king in the corner, keep it safe, and create outposts for your knights. Play in the center. You should be fine, right? Okay, we'll see. Okay, so Eric Rosen brings the queen back. Guess it just wants to defend the king and defend the king's side as well. And Magnus just sticks his rook in there on the 7th file, preparing probably to double up on the g file. We have this move. Okay, here Magnus is not going to take because if he does, it opens up the rook and attacks the queen, takes over the initiative, equalizes the game. And Magnus now, after this, I mean, black could even double up on the f file, and now black is completely fine. And also, he's not going to let black take because that's even worse. So I would assume that he would push here and take more space and open up this diagonal for the bishop, which in fact he does. Okay, so again, not really a hard move to find if you just look over the chess principles, look what's going on in the position, and you can read the position. It's really not that hard to find. These are not, brilliant moves. The fact that Magnus could play extremely sharp over a long period of time in a certain game is extremely impressive, but a lot of times they're just playing, these top players are just playing, common sense moves. They're just stringing a lot of good ideas together, though, and playing very consistently. Okay, so he's attacking the knight, so the knight has to move. And now we have this open diagonal for our dark square bishop. It's a dark square diagonal, so this is good. And Magnus takes control of it immediately. He doesn't give his opponent time to play this. Okay, so Eric Rosen tries to take over the g-file. It's always a mistake to take almost when you're challenging the open files with the rooks, because then black would just take over and just have an open g-file. So I would imagine Magnus would play like rook g1 here, and just if Eric took, he would take back and still have the g-file, or at least be on the 7th rank as well. So that's what I'm going to guess with. No, rook f7. Okay. And of course, black says, hey, I'm going to jump down here and just take over the 2nd file and prepare to double my rooks. And the crazy part is white is just winning here, like up 2 almost. If you look at the evaluation bar, according to the evaluation bar, that's what it says. Okay, and Magnus follows up that with h4. So he concedes the g file and then allows black to come down here and then follows it up with h4. Maybe he wanted to keep the pawn here. He's blockading this pawn. He didn't want the rook to get here eventually. I don't know. That's a very mysterious move. The knight comes down to c4, and I would imagine here that Magnus would probably mess up the structure, and then also get this square for his pieces, because this pawn is very good at guarding the center, so controlling the center. And in fact, that's what happened, okay? And we push. This makes a lot of sense, because when the king is in the center, in this position, the queen is also vulnerable, and the king is vulnerable and cannot get into the corner because the bishop's cutting it off. So when the king and the queen, either one of them are vulnerable, it's a good idea to play in the center and push forward and speed up the game. When both of them are vulnerable, it's a really good idea. So Magnus wants to open up the game, which will speed things up and will accentuate his piece activity. Okay, Eric gets out of the way. But this is a fatal mistake. This is a really hard position to play. We're not going to be too hard on him because he's an excellent chess player. But this is where Magnus takes over the game. Now you'll see that Eric throws a counterpunch and is like, I'm not going down without a fight. I'm going to checkmate you if you're not watching. If you're not careful, I'm going to checkmate you. Obviously, Magnus isn't going to fall for that. But I tell my students all the time, we have to see the threat, and then we have to look for options of defending it and find the best one. So did Magnus just play like bishop back here and just get checkmated? Probably not. Did he bring his bishop back here off an open diagonal and play c1? Probably not. He probably went forward or did some counterattack or some very a defensive move that increases his piece activity. It's hard to see one here, but let's take a look. If you feel like you want to take a guess, make sure you put down your guess in the comments below, time-stamped. And also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Okay, shameless plug. All right, let's get back to business. Okay, so Magnus played bishop c1. Wow. Okay, he did play that. And then we have bishop a3. Wow. Okay, so putting more pressure. Oh, wow. I'm surprised he played bishop c1. I guess it's the best move. I guess he had no choice. Okay, it is passive, but look, he's still fine. He's still completely fine. I just thought in this position he might have had something better. But this, in fact, white is completely winning in this position. And oh my goodness, that is absolutely, I see it now. I can see it unfolding. That is absolutely horrific. I'm not sure if I would have played that in a slow game. In a blitz game, definitely, I don't think so. In a slow game, maybe. But that is unbelievable. I think I see what's going on here. The queen is there's a discovery on the king here with this pawn. And when black takes back, he is not going to be happy. Wow. Magnus taking control and taking advantage of the weak king position and saying, it looks like I'm playing passive and you have pressure on me, but you left your whole king open, and I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm going to counterpunch. This is like the Muhammad Ali rope-a-dope against George Foreman. He just sits back and looks like he's just weak, and he's just playing possum, and all of a sudden, he just pounces. Okay, so black's like, okay, I got your rook, thank you. And now we have check with the queen, and black moves out of the way. Has to. And now we don't take right here. Interesting. No, that's still winning. But no, Magnus after this plays bishop f4, punting the king into the corner. And you'll see why. Because now he takes and queens. And when Eric takes back, now queen c8 is checkmate. Wow, what a game. This is how Magnus Carlsen, the best player in the world, plays a regular, air quotes, everyday master, which there's no such thing, but to him, a regular master, and dispatches him fairly easily. Very impressive. Hope everybody liked the video. And again, if you like, please make sure you comment that, like, and subscribe.